Hey, I know this is a very different video than what I usually make, but I feel like it's best to finally talk about and address my past. I considered making this later, but I felt it would be dishonest to only discuss this when it's being brought up by someone else. It's best that I'm truly upfront to everyone. Before making this channel, I used to go under the online name of Watermelon the Cat. I made the channel back in 2017 when I was 11, and it was my main passion project for many years online. For most of my teenage years, I was a chronically online kid, socially isolated and often bullied at school, and the internet and art was an escape for me. Nowadays, most socials related to Watermelon the Cat have been deleted, apart from the ones I can't delete or don't have access to, and that's for a reason. From the ages of 14 to 15, I was groomed into an online pedophilic cult. I initially joined the group in a stupid attempt to try and expose their actions. Whilst being undercover, but only over time, this became far worse than I ever thought. The people would instruct me to do awful things as an initiation to their cult. In return, they gave me the attention and validation I was socially deprived of. During these months, these adults manipulated and tasked me to create alternative accounts, harass others with disgusting messages, accuse innocent artists of being pedophiles, encourage the actions of predators, and draw inappropriate art of other people's OCs, including fellow minors. They instructed me to say disgusting things just to make people angry, like confessions to illegal acts. Let me clarify, I never did any of these things. I was explicitly told just to say them for the purpose of rage bait. One comment goes around a lot is of me apparently admitting to doing explicit stuff with my cat. This was not true and was made as one of those rage bait posts. I've never owned a pet in my life, let alone a cat. People rightfully told me off for what I was doing, but I didn't listen. I was a dumb kid who felt like I was spying on these people's actions to expose them. There was never any idea to become a victim for clout, as some others believe. I had purely good intentions coming in. I wanted to make sure there was a few less predators in the world, and I genuinely thought I was doing it for the greater good. But what ended up happening is that I greatly underestimated those I was trying to expose at such a young age. In the process, I ended up hurting more people than I ever intended and undermining the severity of the actions of pedophiles. The weight of my actions began to hit harder and harder on me, and I was more hesitant to act upon my instructions from the adults of the cult. My ignorance slowly faded away, for the words from people who were scolding me began to get through. I felt more guilt over what I had done. I wanted to leave, but I was terrified the cult would turn on me for leaving. I was scared they would use the very tactics of harassment that they instructed me to do. I eventually picked a good time to where they wouldn't notice me and left the cult. By the way, I didn't want to name the specific cult as I don't want to give them any of the attention they desperately craved. And I also wouldn't be directly naming anyone who I affected, as I'm sure they don't want their names being specifically mentioned later. The only exception to this is the person in the comments segment who had consented their name being mentioned here. A few months later, after leaving the pedophilic cult, I started a relationship with a commentary YouTuber known as Toastify. Me and Toastify have been friends since 2020, but during the last couple of years, I have actively giving him leads on the members of the cult. I was lying to him by omission by not mentioning that I was privately spying on this group chat because I didn't want to compromise what happened. Whilst my relationship was Toastify, I hesitated telling him the truth of my past. Now, obviously, I wish I did because I should have been honest, but at the time I didn't tell him because I didn't want to lose him. To me, Toastify was the first real relationship I had. I was fully in love with him, and which made it hurt more when eventually broke up with me later, after someone else told him of my past. But I know me lying to him and keeping all this hurt him far more than it did to me. Since then, I privately apologized to him for everything and we settled our issues with each other privately. Testify also accused me of stalking him in a video he made in 2023, but this stuff is outright not true. As mentioned before, me and him since privately settled our issues. We realized that people who were talking to him were greatly exaggerating what was happening to him, and Testify since removed the video. He was thinking of making a statement to clear things up, but I specifically asked him not to at the time. I was still terrified of the unwanted attention I would get from the statement he would make on his platform. During 2021 and 2022, I made a number of frankly shitty apologies that were desperate and rushed. but that is no excuse for what I did. During the apologies, I acted terribly by deleting videos in accordance with the public opinion on me, lashing out people who were criticizing me, and including movie quotes in the video. It was obviously not the right way to go about it, so I wanted to make this video to clarify what exactly happened and apologized. I know this is long overdue, and I wish I did this far earlier, but I think it's best that it even exists at all. To everyone I harassed during my days in the cult, I'm sorry. Even though there were all these outside people and adults influencing what I was doing, instructing me, I still shouldn't have done it. I should have broken away, and not doing that brought immeasurable stress to those I affected. The guilt and regret for what I did will stick with the rest of my life, and if I could take it all back, I would instantly. I want to also issue a specific apology to someone I previously affected. After I was exposed by them in 2022, I tried to put flimsy allegations of pedophilia against them. That was wrong, and I'm sorry to everyone who I affected. I'm not asking for any sort of acceptance for my apology. If you don't want to, you don't have to. I totally understand, but all I ask for is to let me continue with my life online. It really hurts me to see that people believe I'm still the same person when I was 14, back when I was surrounded by sick freaks who normalized disgusting behavior to me. After I turned 16, I left the whole watermelon in the cat name and took an extended break. Whilst I was still drawing stuff online, I was seeking a far more active social life and going through therapy. I'm now 18 and completely different to who I was before. Previous to this video, I buried this part of my life, and even discussing it again right now to the public has been incredibly difficult. To those who are part of my new audience here, I am sorry you had to learn about this now. I hope everyone knows that I simply want to move on from a very dark period, both for me and for those who I affected. For most of my life, I have had an immense passion for the art and animation community, and I want to continue that, but I don't want to whilst hiding anything. Thank you for listening.